So, sorry about that. Uh, we left off, excuse me. We left off learning that Jacob was later named Israel. He had 12 sons. One of them was the vizier of the royal court of Egypt. So he himself was not in bondage. But by the time Ramses the Great came along, that part of Egypt's history was already past. So we're not actually talking about the sons of Israel. We're talking about the generations after. We're talking about the people of Israel, the children of Israel. But the question is, were they actually prisoners? Were they actually held in bondage during Ramses' reign? And that's what we're trying to find out now.
Saves the economy. He's the hero. But that's in the past for the Egyptians. And then it's the third stage where they wander and finally come to the promised land. Let's start with Israel in bondage. Now remember way back when we talked about the Joseph story? Joseph was the son of Jacob called Israel. And this is why they're called the children of Israel. These are the 12 sons of Jacob who eventually settle in Egypt. Right? But this is way back in history for the Egyptians. But we know that there are these stories about Jacob's children, the children of Israel, being in Egypt. But when we left the story, remember, Joseph was the vizier of Egypt. He had saved Egypt because he figured out the dream, the Pharaoh's dream, and he realized there would be 7 good years and 7 years of famine. And by planning the economy for 14 years, by putting grain aside, he saves the economy. He's the hero. But that's in the past, because the Exodus story starts with, and a new Pharaoh came to the throne who knew not Joseph. So this is the past. And it's important. He knew not Joseph, meaning this was the heyday of the Israelites in Egypt. This Pharaoh didn't know about that. Now we are told many details in Exodus, and it's the details that makes it wonderful. For example, these Israelites who are now living in Egypt, in the Delta area, they are numerous. They are prospering. And this bothers Pharaoh. He wants them to be under his thumb. So he puts taskmasters over them, enslaves them, right? Does all kinds of things to keep their numbers down, keep them in check, right? And he says, and the Bible says, they worked in brick. Right? Now notice, by the way, they didn't work in stone. That's a detail. They're working in bricks. That's important. Remember, by the way, these Israelites did not build the pyramids. The pyramids were built 1,000, they're way earlier. Reign of Sneferu, Old Kingdom. This is common misconception, often seen in movies. You've got these slaves hauling blocks up. No way. Not only didn't they build the pyramids, they worked in brick. Right? Now, even so, they're becoming more numerous, those